Now we're on.
Welcome to episode 34 of Cooperators, our special, I guess, E3, post E3 episode.
Yeah, we didn't go this year because
we're old men who don't want to fucking deal with a bunch of nerds.
Right. Also, I didn't really like it last year, so
it was actually. We'll talk about that more.
Yeah.
But there's another reason why I didn't go. But we do have a mutual acquaintance who went, and he said it was better,
really
but
good.
still really horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, welcome to episode 34 of Cooperators, our post E3 episode. With me as always is ChuckingDice.
Hello.
And I'm Augmented Biscuits. There's a lot of game we're gonna talk about today. I'm actually excited to hear about one of the games today, Detroit Being Human. You want to start
Detroit
off with
Become Human.
Become Human.
Yeah.
I guess. You want to start off with that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we can start off with that. Just let me get situated here.
Did I just screw up the entire?
No. We can talk about it.
Our producer / director / co-host. I kind of throw him for a loop sometimes.
Right. Oh shoot.
So yeah, the big E3 that just finished, that just ended this past Thursday. As everyone knows, E3, or if you don't know, E3 is the Electronic Entertainment Expo.
Are we talking about first?
What?
Are we talking about?
Well,
that
I'm just
first?
giving an intro while
okay.
you're saying that. And one of the and there's a lot of games that they showed off this year. A lot of good stuff from all the big three companies. But even better, we actually had some really good games come out recently. Right. We had Detroit Become Human. I picked up a new gaming system. So we'll talk about that. But let's start off with ChuckingDice's impressions and thoughts on Detroit Become Human.
Okay, so Detroit Become Human is a Quantic Dreams game created by David Cage, who also created Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls.
And Fahrenheit.
Actually. And I guess Omicron, whatever it's called, Omicron...
Persei...
something Prophecy.
Omicron Persei
Yeah.
86. Isn't that where that one alien Futurama's from?
I guess.
Fahrenheit was also known as... Well, it was
Indigo Prophecy.
Indigo Prophecy in the States, but everywhere else it was Fahrenheit.
Yeah. So this is a brand new game. It's in the same fashion as Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. If you played that, the difference is that Detroit Becomes Humans, there's a lot more, they call it an open narrative game, kind of like, playing off open world. With open narrative, you can actually unlock all these like different narratives, and you can actually have the outcome of your characters be different as well. We'll get into that. Let me just move to the next. So in this world of Detroit Become Human, it takes place in Detroit, and I guess city of Detroit has adopted android servants created by this company that whose name eludes me right now, Cyber Systems, I think, something like that. And they create male and female androids that look human and do everything. They basically are servants. They clean, they can cook, they can be sexual partners, they can take care of your kids.
Let's talk about the sexual part more.
Yeah. It's basically like, what was that movie that came out? AI?
Gotcha.
You remember that?
Yeah, the one Kubrick did, and then Spielberg's smeared all his Spielbergness on it.
So this is the same concept. This is actually it's based on a short that David Cage did with the PlayStation. It was like an animated short about a girl named Kara, played by Valerie Curry, who actually is in this game as well, playing a character named Kara. And basically the entire concept was this android becomes thinks that she's an actual real person and doesn't really see herself as a piece of merchandise. So that's the idea of Detroit Become Human. We have these android servants that can talk to us, can emulate human behavior, but then all of a sudden they start gaining essentially emotions, sentience, basically. So like I said, that it's a open world narrative. So you have all these different outcomes that can happen in a single scenario. And if you unlock something in the beginning, like in the beginnings of your narrative, it might unlock something later on. Like that can be an option for you to do like much later in the game, or in the midpoint of the game. It's very similar to like how a movie's laid out. Sometimes a movie will show something in the beginning, and there'll be a little callback to it later on. This is no different. You can skip all that stuff, and you can not unlock those things. In which case, like you'll see a bunch of selections, and you might see a couple of selections that are locked. That means that you didn't like pick up something or talk to someone earlier in the game, so that doesn't become an option. But the narrative is always continuing, so you're not actually stuck in one narrative, which I thought was really neat. I thought this was really cool, and this is like the reason why you want to replay it. Heavy Rain sort of had that, in the sense of that if your character dies, your ending will change. I mean, this is no different. It's the same. If a character dies, your ending's going to change slightly. But it's also based on what decisions they make as well. Moving on here. So there are 3 characters in this game. There's Connor, who is the law enforcement android that's hired by the company to basically bring in and stop what he calls deviants, which are androids that develop a consciousness and develop emotion, and basically don't want to be subservient to the human race. There's Marcus, who starts as a servant android for this rich painter, but the painter basically talks to him and stuff as if he was a real person, even kind of treating him like a son. And so he kind of develops these independent thoughts that were kind of motivated through him by his creator. And then there's Kara, who's my favorite character, who, like, yes, it's I could be the same character from the short that David Cage directed, I think back in 2013, but she starts as basically a maid for this like abusive father, who basically will like beat like his child right in front of her, and so you can like decide to do something about it. You can like try and stop him or talk to him, in which case he'll just not listen to you and try to beat you up. Because I tried. Or you can, try to stop him with his like own gun, or you can like just take the daughter and just run away. It's all these little different things that you can do. And like there's different ways you can run away too. It's not like locked in one way, like you jump out the window and then you run away. There's different ways you can do that. So that's basically essentially like the 3 main characters. They're all androids, and they're all kind of walking their own path. You have Connor, who's investigating them and trying to stop androids from murdering their own masters. You have Marcus, who feels that like androids have been wronged, and he's basically trying to create, it's your choice. You can create a civil rights movement that's similar to Martin Luther King, or you can basically do a robot uprising and make it, Terminator. You can do Judgment Day. In the middle of all this, Kara is just trying to protect this child and just trying to escape to Canada, which I guess in the game explains that there's no android laws there, and they don't really care about like androids coming to their country anyways, because they see the sort of scenario differently. So it's her trying to escape, this like crazy world of Detroit. What I thought was really cool, and I think this is a big advantage of this game over Heavy Rain. I love Heavy Rain. I think it's a great game. Although, in terms of like performance, don't get me wrong, those actors were really good because they were French-speaking actors speaking English. The only thing they could not pronounce was origami. It's like origami. And Jason. Jay Sean. But in this game, you have actually recognizable actors, like very similar to Beyond Two Souls, which had
it's Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob.
Yeah. So you have Clancy Brown, who's Mr. Krabs, and he's also the voice of Lex Luthor, and he's also in Shawshank Redemption. He's really great in this. He plays a detective that has to team up with Connor, and he's like always drunk. He's basically got a very dark past. And like he doesn't really want to deal with Connor because he doesn't really like androids. And like you can do so many different things. You can warm up to him, or you can make him hate you even more. It's really cool because like Clancy Brown gives up this awesome performance. The other person who's in there, and there's a lot of recognizable actors in here, but this one in particular, Lance Hendrickson, the person on the right, one of my favorite actors from like a lot of movies I watched. One of my favorite television shows he was in was Millennium, which was sort of like it was created by the guy who did X-Files, Chris Carter. And the only way I can describe it is it's Seven, the television series. And like he's just an investigator that goes after serial killers. Lance Henriksen does like they do amazing performance, and I think the difference between like these games, and I'm also including Heavy Rain and to a certain extent Beyond Two Souls, is that the acting isn't blocked in the sense of a movie, but more of a theatrical performance. But they can also, because of all the all the technology and the cameras they have around them, they can actually capture this really awesome performance from all these different actors. I saw the making of, and they're always in these like what they call man counseling suits, because it makes the bigger parts that you want to look small big, and the smaller parts that you want to to look small huge, I guess. I think that was the same thing, whatever. But they also have these dots on their faces to capture their facial expressions and stuff like that. And it's really cool because, like, the actors are, playing in this, like, just green room or this room with just a bunch of cameras in it, capturing their motions and stuff like that. But they put out this, like, kind of incredible performance in terms of acting and such like that, like, you don't expect it to be in the video game. Because, like, most video games aren't, I mean, they appear cinematic, but they sort of, like, don't have that sort of acting in there. I mean, to a certain extent with voiceover, maybe equivalent to, like, animation. But this is, like, they're using their body, they're moving around, and it's actually a really good performance because they have these, like, experienced actors. Moving on here. One of my favorite characters, like I said, is Kara. She's played by Valerie Curry. You might recognize her from The Tick. She plays Dot. She was
also in that show The Following with Kevin Bacon.
Right. She's great in it. Like I said, I really dug her storyline. And like I guess I've read a couple of like articles. I mean, both good and bad. One of the bad things about it is that they don't like the fact that she's an android maid, which I don't really understand, because the point of this is that like they're trying to show how machines are sort of servants, and how like the people kind of treat the machines. Like, I mean, the equivalent I can say is that like if you have a machine that like whether it be a refrigerator or a TV or something like that, what if it's on the fritz? Like what do you do to it?
You have sex with it,
right? Well, you could do that, but most of the time people just hit it, right? And then like it'll start working. In some sense, that's in here, except because they can talk and stuff like that. Like there's like, I guess, a recourse so that they can just act like jerks. Like, for example, her master, Todd, is takes this drug called red mist, and like it's like crack, I guess. I guess it sort of relaxes him, but if anything, one of the side effects like makes him like, I guess, paranoid and also like very angry. So when she's like just like kind of like spacing out and like maybe looking at the television while Todd's watching it, he's just like, get the fuck out of here, get out of here, like just getting really angry and stuff like that. There's this one part where Kara finds his stash of red mist, and like he grabs it out of her hand and then just starts choking her, and they basically tells him, like, you don't mess with my stuff, you don't want to make me angry, do you? And like it's a very scary, uncomfortable scene, but it's it shows a side of people that isn't pretty because of you have this new technology where it's okay to act like a jerk, and no one will mind, except for maybe the android when they start developing consciousness. I really like how they explain it in terms of like the sense of from Connor's point of view, the investigator android. He basically sees it as a malfunction in the androids, and they're not supposed to be acting like that. He says that there's some kind of like mutation in the software that makes them think they're feeling emotions, but they really aren't. They're just basically bugging out. They're blue screening. Little tech humor there. So like, some people kind of see this as, this is a sadistic game where you you basically, you have a choice of like having this abusive person just like totally abuses kids right in front of you. I read this really weird article. I forgot where it was. I think it was a mainstream article where they thought it was a game where you take the role as an abusive father and then you kind of watch all the stuff play out. When in reality, that's like only one of the choices. And I think that leads to one of the things I need to say about this game is that since it's an open narrative, it's like up to you to kind of push that narrative towards the direction of where you want it to go. It's like, it's as if you're a writer of a television show or a movie. You want to like push the narrative. If you want to push the narrative to where it's more of a civil rights movement and you want to stop the father, but you don't want to kill him, blah, 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 blah. That's up to you as a player. If you want it so it's like the robot uprising and you want to punish the humans, you can do that too. Like I said, it's up to you. And if the story does not fit your needs or your expectations, really that's your fault as a player. It's no different from when you're playing a normal platformer. If you accidentally jump in the pit, apart from like a game bug making that happen, if you jumped at the wrong time, that's on you. It's your narrative. It's your story. They say that in the beginning of the game, which kind of leads to the next point, which I thought was really, really cool. This woman right here on the cover is Chloe, who basically is the she's in the opening menu. She tells you about all the options, and occasionally she'll just say something every so often. Usually it'll always be different too. But as you're playing on and as you're making choices, she begins to change. So basically she's kind of turning into a deviant. And like it's really weird because at first she was just like kind of smiling and like saying all this like general stuff, like these are the options menu, these are the bookmarks, these are like the whatever the added content, the bonus material. Then she's like, as you go on and on and on, she starts looking worried. And then like there's parts where she'll say stuff like, oh, before it's like, oh, can I ask you a question? Like, are we friends? And you can actually choose the option of yes or no. And it's up to you on what you want to say to her. Excuse me. One of the other cool things is that, like, I found out is that in the middle of it, she basically gives you a questionnaire, and it's about like how humans perceive androids. And I've never really found out if that actually affected anything in the game, because I've only played through it once. I have yet to play through it again. There's even a portion where she says, "Stop. Do you actually want to continue? Maybe we should leave everything, just as is." Like she's worried to see what's coming up next, which I thought was really cool. And I really wish there was more options. I mean, it seems like there's not many options for her to kind of, feel emotionally, but I wish there was more too, so that like, it felt like even the menu was just an experience on its own. Eventually she'll actually ask if she can leave, and it's up to you to keep her there or let her go. I let her go, and then she left, and she was never there ever again. They did actually put in an update though where she can't actually come back. So, lame. But that's because people complain about it, because like they can't just leave well enough alone.
Do you think? What did you think about the controversy where they're saying that David Cage basically took the civil rights movement and kind of just pretty much made this game like he pretty much copied the civil rights movement.
I don't think he copied it at all. Honestly, I think there are aspects that he borrowed from, it's like even that to me is saying, well, the Me Too movement, that's a copy of the civil rights movement, because they like did a march on Washington and did all this stuff. There's actually not that many like parallels in terms of like just the basic things. I mean, saying a speech, maybe walking down, and like not all of it was part of the civil rights movement. Like there's a portion where like since they're androids, they don't really care about them as much. So you have like guns aimed at androids, and you'll have people shooting them, and they'll fall and die. they do that with impunity because they don't see him as living beings. And I think that's the thing that you have to kind of take difference. The difference is that this is a precautionary tale and not a remake of a movement that was, shared years ago. Obviously, there are parallels because, yes, they borrow from history, and like that's how most science fiction, movies, I guess you could say games as well at this point, they borrow from stuff that happens in history. But not to an extent where, like, I don't really see Marcus as being exactly like Martin Luther King. He's maybe based on different leaders, and also like in the civil rights movement, you didn't really have the option of like turning it into like a robot Armageddon, which you can do in this game. Mm-hmm. So I read that article, and I can I see the point that the author was trying to make. I don't really see it though as a whole of this game, since there are different outcomes. Yes, you can like basically say, we have a dream, but you could argue that the reason why he says that is because is that he's been studying up on stuff that has happened in history. I mean, he does mention it many times that humans do have this ability to just hate each other just because of their differences, and I think that more says about stuff that's happening right now as well. Because, if you're not careful, history can repeat itself. I think it's kind of cool because one of the things I think is really neat about this is that it's the added incentive that are androids a life form or are they just a piece of equipment? And that's for you to decide. You can actually choose the option of they're a piece of equipment if you feel that way. I mean, like there's androids that fall in love with each other that are essentially the same sex, or they're different sexes. They don't really see, I guess, the difference. But like as a human, maybe you do, and maybe you think that some stuff that they're doing is different than or is the same as humans. It doesn't really matter. It's a narrative that you create on your own terms. If you don't want the civil rights message, you can take that away. Like that's why I don't really see it as like a sort of a copy. Mm-hmm. Because like, yeah, I mean, I don't recall, times where it was at the portion of where, black people would rise up and kill all the white people. One of the cool things also I really like about this game is that the androids in here, mm-hmm. they're not superhumanly strong, which I always found weird when creating, and this goes with everything. When creating an artificial life form, they decide to give them like strength of, they'll have the ability to crush a car with their bare hands. Like, why would you do that? Yeah. Like the androids in here actually only really have strength that matches a human, their build and age, I guess, or appearance. They're very precise, but like, if you're a much stronger, looking human, you could probably overpower one of these androids. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a mortality to these androids that I don't feel is really seen in a lot of different science fiction, whether that be like Blade Runner, for example. Like those androids have superhuman strength. So why do we give them superhuman strength? So like that's gonna like bite us in the ass later on, or like Terminator or Data from Star Trek. It's like, oh, let's just give them superhuman strength. They can rip a human apart with their bare hands. It's like, why are you gonna do that? Like all we want them to do is like wash my car, take care of my kids. Like, where does superhuman strength find that factor? What up, naming Chanel? I don't know who this is. Is that?
We got a new commenter.
Yeah, new commenter. How's it going?
Hi.
Like I said, I'm a real fan of this game just because of its narrative, and I'm looking forward to playing through it again, making different choices. Maybe I'll do Robot Armageddon or Android Armageddon. Maybe I'll color Kara's hair differently. You actually have that option too.
Are the androids affected by EMP?
I don't think that actually occurs during the game. It's more, I guess, kind of concentrated on the more moral choices. That's another really cool thing about this game is that this is really all dependent on the person making these, different choices. Mm-hmm. If you make these like, sort of, I guess, haphazard choices, mm-hmm. like if you want to, you have to kind of wonder, what's in a person's psyche where they want to have this like little girl just be beaten to death by her abusive father, mm-hmm. which that's certainly an option. But it's up to, I guess, the user to take a little term from Tron. But I highly recommend this game. I actually dug this more than Heavy Rain, just because of all the different narrative choices that you could choose from. Also, like performance-wise, I will say it's better than Heavy Rain as well, just because it's these like familiar actors that you're used to seeing in Hollywood, like movies and television shows. The main character, he's from, Marcus. He's from, not House by the Cemetery, Cabin in the Woods. He's the army dude that's part of the group of scientists that are running the experiment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know who Connor is. Like I've only seen him a couple times. He has his own channel. It's great because the actor that plays Connor, I think, is Brian Eckhart. He actually has a Twitch channel where he's actually playing the game, and he hasn't played the game before. So, but he's obviously acted in it. So it's a new experience for him to play this game with all the stuff in there. And so you can see him just like be marveled, like, wow, this is what the room was supposed to look like. He's like, look at this table, look at all this other stuff. So it's really cool to kind of see him like distracted. But yeah, I don't know. I really dug the game. I'll let you borrow it when I'm done doing everything in it.
I'm just gonna make the androids make me food.
Right. I mean, you could do that too, except some of them probably won't. There's a weird kind of like also what they borrow from the civil rights movement. One of the other things they borrow from is like immigrants. Mm-hmm. They kind of treat them because like they're taking our jobs. All the androids are taking our jobs, which they are, but they're taking all the subservient jobs. It's not like they're taking I'm going to become a doctor or whatever. Mm-hmm. They're cleaning the toilets and all this other stuff. So I always thought, I think it's kind of a neat sort of allegory, like game. I mean, if people really want it, if they want a game that's about the civil rights movement, they can make a game like that. I don't know how many people are going to play it, though. It depends on what you do with the game. But, or you can have a game about androids. It's really heavy at times. So sometimes, like, I had to take a couple breaks. But all in all, like, I liked it because it was short, and I really dug, all the different little choices that you had.
Sounds good. I'll give it a try.
Right.
Moving on. What do we got next?
Do you want to talk about E3?
Sure. Let's talk about E3. So E3, as I stated before, just finished. The big video game conference.
We're just going to talk about the games. We're not really going to talk about the announcements and stuff like that because everyone's talked about that.
Yeah, and just a little background. ChuckingDice and I actually didn't attend this year. We actually attended last year, and we actually did a podcast there. We decided to forego attending this year because we didn't really care for the crowds last year.
How's it going, Scorpion MPE?
Hello, Scorpion.
Little shout out for Scorpion.
We didn't care for the crowds last year, and we were actually a little...
I was kind of disappointed with the event last year. So
we were disappointed. But we have a mutual friend who went this year, and he actually told us that they did something different to kind of remedy that. I guess they got a lot of complaints from the industry because there were so many people there. Because last year they opened it to the general public, and they actually made a lot of money. They continued that trend this year, and I think that's going to be an option moving forward.
Right.
So what they did this year is they actually opened the doors for industry at 9 o'clock a.m., like 9 a.m., and then at about 12 p.m., So they gave industry 3 hours, and then at 12 p.m. they let the general public in. Now, our friend, he actually went. He had a pass through his work. He went. He said it was great when they opened at 9 a.m. He was able to just walk right in. Wasn't allowed too many lines. He said demo stations were a lot better, a little more scarce. But he said once 12 o'clock hit and they opened the general public, it was just as bad or even worse than last year.
Really?
Yeah. So
E3.
Yeah. So we're just gonna talk about the games. I'm sure a lot of you saw the announcements, saw the buzz, saw a lot of you guys are probably overloaded on E3 since pretty much every single video game site has been writing about E3 for the last week. Actually, they're still gonna probably continue for the next week.
Right.
Because they also play demos and impressions and things like that. So let's talk about the games. So shall we? What's the first game we got?
Assassin's Creed Dynasty. Now, I'm not a big Assassin's Creed fan. I've actually not really played any of the games, but you've played pretty much the entire series.
Most of them, yeah.
What do you think about this new one coming out?
I actually didn't see anything about Dynasty. I did see something about the Odyssey, which is the Greek one,
right?
The one that's set in Greece. I didn't see anything about Dynasty. I wonder if that's what is Dynasty.
I don't know.
Actually, but I did see the video for Odyssey. Now Odyssey is actually going to take place in Greece. It's actually set several years before Origins, which is the last release of it, which took place in Egypt.
So it's a prequel?
So it's a prequel. So Odyssey is actually supposed to... It actually looks really good. One thing that kind of piqued my interest in Odyssey was that they have said that they're going to... move more towards like an action RPG game, or more RPG elements in the game. They're also going to do a little more quality of life improvements with the series, which what they did with Origins. And yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it because I really enjoyed the combat. The combat was really, really good in Origins. It was very satisfying. It was probably the best mechanics they had in an Assassin's Creed game for quite a bit. So it was very satisfying gameplay. The story was whatever. This time around with Odyssey, they're actually going to let you play as either a female or male protagonist.
Right.
They're both going to have different stories, but they're going to kind of intersect at times, similar to like Resident Evil 2, which
we'll talk about later.
So yeah, I'm actually kind of looking forward to this. I actually looking at it now, I think I did see something about Assassin's Creed Dynasty, and I believe Dynasty is actually going to take place in Japan.
Oh, is it?
Or is it China? Thought it was Japan. I guess this is a new Assassin's Creed. Guess they're...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's move on here.
Whatever. I didn't see anything. But the big one was Odyssey. Yeah. So let's move on.
So the big game, though, like I guess the weirdest game, I should say, that
this is like
came out.
This has been like the talk of the town.
Yeah.
One, it's from Hideo Kojima, which is from Metal Gear, the Metal Gear fame,
and starring Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead.
So this has been generating big buzz because he's actually been working on this for the last like
Death Stranding
2 or 3 years since he left Konami. This is his first game post Konami, so it's very highly anticipated. They're also wondering what the fuck is going on. Now, I saw the trailer and the gameplay. You saw the trailer and gameplay. Let's start off with you. What did you think?
It's like 20 minutes long, this trailer, this preview, I guess. Mm-hmm. And it's basically Death Stranding, that's what the game's called. It's basically Norman Reedus just kind of wandering with this big like piece of equipment on his back and then just traversing all this terrain, this horrible terrain of like just, stuff that you don't really want to walk on. And he's like climbing mountains with this thing on. He's got a little automated helper that's carrying something else. There's a portion that made me cringe a bit because he was like pulling off like something out of his like toenail, which got a reaction out of me. And it just goes on and on. It's like a cutscene from Metal Gear. And then eventually, like, he encounters this invisible enemy that leaves handprints as footprints. and basically you have to kind of keep quiet, and from what it looks like, they're holding their breath so that they can't find them. There's also this weird scene where there's like a baby coming out of like a what you think is like in the uterus or whatever, but it's like his throat. And then they show the bionic woman. Is it Lindsay Wagner?
I think Lindsay Wagner.
Yeah, Lindsay Wagner. Turn around she was wearing a dress, right? Something like that.
Yeah,
like a blue dress or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it kind of stops. It doesn't really tell you definitively what this game is about. I don't know if it was showing gameplay or if it was just showing a cutscene, because you never know with Hideo Kojima. It was just a weird thing. Whereas, I mean, I guess it's somewhat the same as PT, which Norman Reedus was supposed to be in Silent Hills, but at least with PT there was a pieced together narrative, and I didn't really see any evidence here. Maybe there is, or maybe there isn't.
I mean, here's the thing: if you played Metal Gear Solid 5, he was actually getting pretty weird with this shit. Yeah, actually, he's kind of been known for some of his stuff getting weird. I think, I mean, this is my own personal opinion. My theory is that Kojima is somewhat like George Lucas, where if you don't have somebody, whether that's like a producer or someone else, kind of reining him in with his wild ideas, it would become too much and too confusing and too crazy. And you can kind of see that. You can actually see that if you play the Metal Gear Solid series. You can see that the first Metal Gear Solid, while it had some kind of somewhat outlandish elements, it was still very much your typical action stealth game. When you got to Metal Gear 2, he was going a bit more outlandish, and which makes sense because they gave him a lot more creative freedom because Metal Gear Solid 1 was such a huge hit. And even things like, I mean, I thought some of that stuff was pretty ahead of its time, like, an all-digital world, and, there's like this conspiracy of these like kind of cabal, because everything's going to be all digital, you're going to have this cabal of government maybe operatives or just this cabal of secret players in the world who are controlling the flow of digital information, because now all information is digital. Now you can pick and choose what you want. You can like edit it, alter it. You can actually see that in the real world now with how, fake news is being spread and Trump and all that bullshit. So I thought it was pretty ahead of time. And then with 3 went back to kind of Cold War, antics, and you can see like as the series goes on, it just gets crazier and crazier. I mean, Metal Gear Solid 4 had the rise of PMCs, which is again, we had that in Afghanistan, and 5 is kind of where it got really, really crazy. And I think I wouldn't doubt if at that point Konami was looking at Kojima and just saying like, we really can't rein you in anymore, or we don't want to rein you in because like it's just becoming way too expensive for you to make these fucking weird games. Well,
on the top of that, like Konami wanted to do like mobile gaming.
Basically, Konami wanted to make more money, right? And they're a business, and the business is for them to make money. They weren't seeing a lot of money in traditional console video games because video game development has gotten really, really, really expensive. So they're looking at things like mobile gaming and other stuff. So they decided to cut ties. They were going in a different direction. So my fear, and the reason, kind of like a long-winded kind of tangent, the reason why I mention all this is because that's, as I was watching this trailer, and again, I would agree with ChuckingDice, it's a very, really, very, really fucking weird trailer. But it looks gorgeous. It looks phenomenal.
Looks really intriguing, though.
Yeah, it looks really intriguing, like you were saying, the suit he's wearing, the little devices, the little like machine he has on his shoulder that's like kind of like, I would say, clapping. Yeah.
I want to know what's going on. That's
we want to know what the fuck's going on. But my fear is that based on kind of like, this is his first game post Konami, and he really kind of, it's his own production company, and he's really has no one reining him in. Yeah, I have this kind of small fear that it's going to be too weird and it's going to bomb.
Well, yeah, one of the things I thought was kind of for when PT was coming out, Hideo Kojima's name was attached to it. Obviously, Norman Reedus's, but also Guillermo del Toro was attached to it as well.
Yeah.
And I felt that maybe Guillermo del Toro would be the person who'd be reining Kojima in, saying, "Hey, let's not get too wild. Make sure you're following this narrative." But I guess Guillermo del Toro doesn't have anything to do with this.
He kind of swore off of trying to get into the video game industry because he at one point wanted to do video games.
Yeah.
He loves video. He loves stories and loves video games. But I guess he's been burnt too many times by video game companies and publishers and developers.
Konami probably left a bad taste in his mouth.
Yeah, actually, even before that, he was actually going to do something. He was contracted to do something for THQ.
Oh, really?
So when they went under, he got burned by that because he actually set up a huge deal. And then with the whole Konami thing, I think that kind of was like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Maybe on PT, it actually wasn't just him. It was in addition to Del Toro and Kojima, it was also Junyo Ito.
Right.
He's a manga artist who did like Gyo and Uzumaki. He's a huge like horror manga like celebrity. Like he's known for his horror manga, and he's got some really fucked up ideas too. So all three of them are collaborating on PT, and I think that's what got people excited. But I agree with you. I think Del Toro was kind of like that kind of like that overarching producer who was like, okay, let's kind of like. He took those. I feel like he might have taken, or I hope this is what I imagine is, Del Toro took those wild ideas and actually shaped them into something that would be appealing and not too hipsterish.
Right.
I mean, would you agree? Because I think that's what Del Toro's really good at.
My hope with this game is that. Maybe Kojima's going to do something more in line of like not exactly the same, but the narrative of like Metal Gear or Metal Gear 2, or even like I'm actually playing this right now, Police Knots, and not do the David Lynch thing.
Where it's just for this.
He's doing weird stuff for the sake of being weird and saying I don't need to explain anything because I'm David Lynch. Which there's a little bit of arrogance there. There's also a little bit of like Jesus Christ, like when did you forget on how to be a storyteller? And then they'll argue, well, I'm an artist, not a storyteller. And when I mean they, not so much David Lynch, but like the David Lynch fans. And it's probably the same thing's gonna happen with the Kojima fans.
Yeah, I'm sure that's gonna happen.
Yeah, but
I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see how. I mean, it's we don't know enough, so it might actually be good, but who knows?
Maybe he'll. It might even be one of those things where he just basically fucking Rick rolls everyone, and it ends up being like a fucking awesome game that like has really, really good refined gameplay.
Or takes place in like the suburbs, and all this is a dream or something.
Yeah, it's like a fucking nightmare, Norman Reedus nightmare. Okay, the next one up is Ghost of Tsushima. Now, I had heard nothing about this game.
Me neither. I'd never heard of it, but then when I saw the trailer, I was like, this looks kind of cool.
And when I saw it, I was like, holy fuck, this looks awesome. I am not surprised, though, because it's from the same developers. It's from the developers who did Infamous, Infamous 2, Infamous Second Son, and, the freaking... what is that platforming series with the raccoon thief?
Banjo-Kazooie? I don't know.
No, fuck, it escapes my name now. But... Sucker Punch. So Sucker Punch is behind Ghost of Tsushima.
Right.
Do you pronounce the T? Tsushima? Or Tsushima?
Tsushima?
I don't know. Sashimi?
Tsushima.
Tsushima. There you go. Sorry. I'm horrible with the Asian languages.
Me too.
Annyeong
Haseyo.
This looked fucking awesome. They showed gameplay. It looked really smooth. But again, we're looking at video.
Yeah.
A lot of people are very, very excited for this game. There's actually one of two Japanese samurai / ninja games shown. Another one is being created by From Software, I believe. From Software? I think so. But this blew a lot of people away. I mean, this is one of those like highly anticipated games. They showed a lot of combat, sword combat.
Yeah.
You're in the Japanese countryside. You're
kinda,
actually in the middle.
Kind of remind me of Vagrant Story a little bit.
Yeah, you're in the middle of a Mongol invasion, and in the demo that they showed is you're actually trying to find this monk.
Yeah.
But I thought the duel that they have towards the end of the game was actually really, really cool.
Yeah. Looked kind of neat.
What did you think?
I mean, I thought it looked really cool. I mean, I've just come off of watching an entire marathon of Samurai Champloo.
Mm-hmm. I need to watch that, by the way.
It's really good.
Okay.
The reason why is because I'm cosplaying as Mugen in Anime Expo, and before that, me and Tiny Dinosaurs and Thought Otter, we went to Ronin Expo, which is this like 1 day sort of, I guess, anime-ish expo, but I think most of it is that you're supposed to dress up as a samurai or whatever, or a Ronin or something like that.
Yeah.
So we dressed up as the characters from Samurai Champloo.
That's cool.
So I was like kind of in like, I've been in sort of this like sort of samurai kick. I've been watching like movies, 13 Assassins and like,
which is like my
Shogun Assassin.
13 Assassins is like one of my favorite go-to samurai movies.
Right.
That, and I would say that and Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai. That's a good one. One of my favorite ones that not a lot of people know about is Samurai Fiction. It's like I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like Clerks, but with samurais.
Nice.
It's I definitely recommend it. It's kind of cool. But like, I saw the opening where he's like walking up and he's fighting the two guys and he meets up with that woman.
Yeah.
And like, they're about to go in deeper into the town and stuff like that. And it looked, like I said, like the combat kind of reminded me of like Vagrant Story, if you ever played that one.
I think I played a bit of that.
Yeah, it's a RPG, but like instead of being like a simple turn-based RPG, you're like aiming for their leg or aiming for their arm and stuff like that.
It actually reminded me. Yeah. Did you ever play Onimusha?
Yeah, I played Onimusha. So yeah, that does remind me of that too.
It had a very Onimusha. Yeah. The combat had a very Onimusha vibe.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome if they put Samanosuke in it. Like he's an unlockable character.
That was like Onimusha was almost like it was weird because it almost sort of played like a Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
But you had like more like I guess combat ability than just.
It was a little more. It was more actiony.
Yeah, and like you could stab them while they're on the ground and stuff, and all this blood would just splatter.
And they had pre-rendered backgrounds and everything, but it was PS2. It actually played really smoothly. It was great. But this, this blew me away.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I had no fucking idea what this was, and I was like, I'm gonna have to buy this.
Yeah, it's not a tent pole or anything like that.
No,
it's a brand new original game that I'm looking forward to.
And I get excited when they have brand new IPs.
Yeah.
I mean, I love my Elder Scrolls. Right. I love my fucking Fallouts, and I love, I don't know what other fucking series I'm like obsessed with.
What's it called? The Division, or was it?
No, not the Division. And I kind of dropped off actually on Destiny. But I love my Elder Scrolls and I love my fucking Fallout. So I'm always excited for new IPs, and this looks great.
Yeah. And then like years later, when they're doing Ghost of Tsushima Infinite, we're like, why would this game go away?
I'm waiting for them.
I don't want this game anymore.
Exactly. No, I want them to make. I want them to go back and make a Mexican Revolution game.
Maybe they'll do a DLC of Ghost of Tsushima where you can be Zangetsu from Bloodstain.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. Doing a double jump and like chopping people with magic.
They need to bring back Sunset Riders so I can be that Mexican dude with the shotgun, with the sombrero, with the poncho sombrero and shotgun. He was the best one. He was the best one because he had the shotgun that did the spread shot, right? Yeah. He was like the best Sunset Rider. That dude was awesome.
Moving on, Spider-Man for the PS4. Your friend who went, or mutual friend, I guess, like he liked it. He liked the gameplay and stuff like that.
He actually got and he was able to actually play the demo.
Right.
He loved it. He said it's probably the best Spider-Man game he's played.
Right.
He said the movement. He's like, it moves really smooth. He said, movie's so good.
But how much does that say? Because like I can't really remember a Spider-Man game I liked that was just Spider-Man.
Did you ever play the PS1 Spider-Man?
Not the PS1. I played the PS2 version though.
The PS1 Spider-Man was really, really good. The very first, and it was from Neversoft. The first Spider-Man game on the PS1 was probably one of my favorite Spider-Man games. Second favorite,
Revenge of the Sinister Six on the NES.
No, the arcade one. We've talked about.
Actually, the arcade one's good.
The arcade one,
but that's not just Spider-Man. That's
true,
Namor, Hawkeye, and Black Cat.
Yeah, Namor, Hawkeye, Black Cat.
Which is a weird pairing.
It really is a weird fucking pairing.
Like, why Hawkeye?
But I think solo Spider-Man would have to be the PS1.
Right.
But he was saying it plays really, really, really well.
Yeah.
It's really fun to move around.
Mm-hmm.
He said combat's really fluid.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised because this is being developed by Insomniac, who is my actual neighbor. They're actually a block or two down from me.
Right.
They are known for very, very good engaging gameplay. They're you'll know them from the Ratchet and Clank series. They also did they actually did the Spiral series way back in the day before the Spiral series got bought out by Activision. Most recently, they did Sunset Overdrive, and I wouldn't doubt if Sunset Overdrive was kind of like a prototype of them trying to get a Spider-Man game, because a lot of the movements that you see in Sunset Overdrive, like the jumping and things like that, and basically Sunset Overdrive the movement was kind of like a Tony Hawk game, but it was supposed to be really fluid and stuff. I wouldn't doubt if they took some of those lessons and applied it here. But they showed gameplay. They showed kind of like a slice of gameplay in the Raft. For those of you who know, that's the superpowered prison. ChuckingDice knows all this shit. They showed.
Well, that was the newer one. It used to be the Vault before that, and before that it was I think Project Pegasus, and then there's Rikers Island.
Yeah. They did show a bunch of villains. They basically showed the Sinister Six, except they only showed 5. They apparently showed the 6th person. But it looks really good. ChuckingDice, what did you think? I know you hated the costume, though.
I really do not like. Hey, how's it going, Senor Pac-Man? Habla Espanol. Not me, but my friend Augmented Biscuits here. Habla's a little Espanol.
Yeah, it's not that great.
It's not that great? Okay, maybe he doesn't really habla a little Espanol.
Hello.
El Nino means the Nino. I don't know.
Hello, new commenters.
Yeah. So like one of the things like I didn't really like about this game is the costumes. I mean, to me they look like if Jim Lee designed them, and like I don't know if you been keeping up with comic books, but during the New 52 he designed all these like Justice League costumes and basically made it look like they're wearing all armor. And to me, I was just like, they all look the same, and why do they have all these like weird ridges? Like all the costumes had that, these like little like markings where like the joints are and stuff.
Why do you hate Jim Lee?
Huh? I don't really hate Jim Lee. I think he did one of the best Batman runs ever. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's particularly a good writer, because I've read a lot of his stuff he's written, but I think he's a superb artist. It's just that when he did these costume redesigns, they looked horrible, and they remind me of the costumes in this game. I really hate Spider-Man's look with that huge silver spider. I mean, I hope they motivate that in some way, because it doesn't look like he designed this at home.
They're gonna have DLC to change the costumes.
Oh, they are? Well, yeah. Sorry, I don't understand. Oh. Well, that's all right.
That's okay.
That's okay.
You can just watch the videos and stuff.
You can see like the images.
Isn't there somewhere to transcribe?
You can, but it's not very good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
does YouTube allow subtitling?
They do. Yeah, but you have to. You can either do it as like the on the fly translation, but it works as like the closed captioning. Oh. It'll get all words wrong.
Okay. Well.
Sorry, Senor Pac-Man.
So you didn't like the costume, but
I didn't like the costume. I mean, I looked at the gameplay, and it just kind of reminded me of, I guess, Batman, the Arkham games. Mm-hmm. So adios. I didn't really see the difference, I guess. But again, I wasn't playing the game. I was just watching it. So in terms of watching it, I wasn't really too impressed. Also, there've been a million Spider-Man games and a million Marvel games.
Who hurt you?
I don't know. Apparently these guys, because they haven't made an Iron Man game. Whoever made the Iron Man games, those are the people who hurt me.
Oh, if you want an Iron Man game, you should play EA's Anthem, because everybody kept calling it. So you're playing. So this is Iron Man, and everyone's like, "Yeah, you're basically Iron Man."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have you seen any gameplay for Anthem?
No, I haven't. No.
You're pretty much They essentially took Destiny.
Yeah.
And they're making it third person. Yeah. But the whole gameplay premise of it is you're in these suits.
Yeah.
They're pretty much exosuits like Iron Man.
Right.
And there's specialties in the exosuits. So like the heavy bruiser is like this big giant mech that has like a grenade launcher and stuff. And a lot of impression people were saying like when you play the game, it's actually basically like an Iron Man game.
Right.
So you should check that out. And it's co-op, so we can play together.
Oh, we can play together, huh?
So you can be the one shooting down fire everywhere, and I can be the one doing precision shots, like in Dead Space 3.
Exactly.
You know what we didn't see at E3?
What's that?
Fucking Dead Space.
Well, they're done with that series, right?
EA. Okay.
And I hate it because they left it on a cliffhanger too.
Yeah, sons of bitches.
It's like they were going to turn it into Doom, basically. I guess you could play Doom, but I played that game and got bored with it. Yeah, so I mean, I wasn't incredibly impressed with the game. Maybe if I download a demo, maybe my tune will change. But I just wish there was an Iron Man game, a good one, because there was 3 really bad ones. There's one on the Game Boy Advance that I actually enjoyed, and then there's Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but that's not an Iron Man game. That's a Marvel game.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed. Let's move on here, and the big game I guess for Nintendo is Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Fuck this game.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say about this game other than it's Smash Brothers?
Yeah,
but it's with the entire roster.
I'm gonna buy this game because everyone's gonna fucking have this game and everyone's gonna want to play it.
Right.
I kind of want to actually get into it. I do like fighting games, but Smash Brothers I never really got into.
Right.
But it's got Solid Snake, and it's got David Hayter Solid Snake, so I'm gonna fucking support.
It's got Mega Man, it's got Pac-Man, it's got Mario.
You're disappointed.
It's got Ridley.
Oh, it's got so you can actually play as Ridley. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna play. Now you were disappointed because they're not including Simon Belmont.
Yeah, because it feels like this group of I guess gaming characters, that's the one person missing. Is that Simon Belmont or someone from Castlevania? Preferably Simon Belmont because he's the original Nintendo version, I guess. I'll even accept Trevor, but I guess Konami doesn't really want to loan out that guy. They already loaned out Snake, so
that's true. They did loan out Snake.
Yeah, but they can put one more in there. But I guess they're not.
I'm surprised they loaned out Snake, but then again, Kojima doesn't have any kind of
right. Well,
any kind of say in it anymore. So,
well, he wanted him to be there in the first place.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's kind of disappointing that, and I guess everyone's disappointed that Waluigi wasn't in.
Waluigi, get it right.
Whatever. I don't really care.
It right.
I didn't even know that there was a Wario version of Luigi. When did this happen? And all the fans are disappointed they're not in there.
Who hurt you? Waluigi hurt you?
Yeah. Well, no. Who hurt? I mean, I guess Smash Brothers hurt the Nintendo hurt the fans.
It's because there's Bowser, but there's there's Bowser and Wario, but there's no Waluigi, and we want Waluigi.
No, we don't.
I'm just disappointed. I'm just disappointed that I don't even care about Waluigi. I'm just mad that they reduced Snake's butt size.
Yeah, his ass is smaller.
Yeah. Look at his thighs. Yeah. If he's got those muscular thighs, he's gotta have an ass to match. And
you know what?
That is unacceptable.
He's still a white boy, and everyone knows that white boy don't have ass.
That is true. That is true. White boys do not have.
All my white boy friends, they all have white boy ass, which means they don't have an ass.
That's true.
It's weird too, because some of them have belts, yet their fucking pants are falling down anyways because their lack of ass, is not keeping it up.
I totally agree with you because I worked at one of my previous positions. There was a bunch of skinny white dudes there. Yeah. There was 2 particular skinny white dudes who always looked at them, and they always wore. What is it with skinny white dudes always wearing clothes that's way too big for them? I never understood that. So
they could be conscious,
So this guy wore obviously he wore pants that were at least one size too big.
Right.
And so his belt would bunch everything up.
Yeah.
But it was but he were still, like you were saying, they were still falling because the dude had no ass.
Yeah. They got no
zero
butt.
Ass. Zero fucking ass.
Yeah.
Literally flat.
Right. So if maybe, Snake's a white boy, so he has no ass.
That's unacceptable to me, though. They need to put an ass on that dude. Because it's fucking Solid Snake.
I bet Waluigi doesn't have a.
No, Waluigi's pretty. Yeah, actually, Waluigi's your typical, hipster body, so he's skinny as fucking guy.
Well, that's why they want him in there. So that's coming out, and it's gonna be a big, melee.
It's gonna be a big thing. Everyone's gonna want to fucking play.
I don't know. Here's one thing I can say about this game with its roster coming out. They're doing something that is essentially fun to play, and it's fun to play in a group and stuff like that. If I compare this to, say, a WWE game, and if WWE came out with a game with, it's going to be all the rosters of all the superstars that ever been on WWE, which is, not an easy task. It wouldn't be as fun because it'd still be the same crappy wrestling game that came out years ago.
I know. We had this conversation. Yeah. You were basically saying they haven't improved the gameplay for these wrestling games since the SmackDown days.
pretty much.
Which is horrible.
Yeah.
Which is honestly like fucking horrible.
Yeah, I can honestly say at least they improved Smash Brothers.
I mean, there was at one point when they released the WWE game that was based on the Attitude Era, I wanted to play it with you so bad.
But I
remember I rented it and I was like, dude, this game is shit. Like the gameplay is slow.
Yeah.
It like took forever to load. I'm like, am I playing SmackDown on the PS1? Like, is this what I'm playing?
Yeah, that's why I didn't really like them that much.
Yeah.
So let's move on to a game that, like, to me, this was the cream of the crop, as Macho Man Randy Savage would say. And I actually have a video of this game.
Oh yes,
it's
fucking yes. You know how much of a boner I got when I saw this?
Probably the one that probably big as mine. My favorite Resident Evil, at least before Resident Evil 7 came out and before Resident Evil 4 came out, was Resident Evil 2. And when I saw this, the date of this coming out is January, which is really coming up quick. This is amazing because, like, one of the things, like, you know, that's annoying about, like, playing an old Resident Evil game, it's that tank control scheme. It's pre-rendered backgrounds. And in the old Resident Evil PlayStation one, it's not as bad because they were kind of sensible when they created the different camera angles and stuff like that. But, you know, I still have to say that, like, it's cumbersome to play this. With this new remake of Resident Evil 2, it's based on the RE engine, the one that was for Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
Except this is over the shoulder, so they keep the continuity of Resident Evil 4 because, you know, Leon is the main character of Resident Evil 4.
So they're basically taking the best parts of the two really big Resident Evil hits, which is 4 and 7.
Right.
And they're making a remake of 2.
Yeah, a remake of 2, and, like, it's the same maps and stuff like that. But what's really cool and I thought was really neat is that it's not all the like, unlike, I guess, Resident Evil 1 remake, all the stuff that happens doesn't really happen exactly how it happens in the original game. So, like, if you're going through that one section where you're, you know, going past that window, a BOW kind of crawls right by the window. That doesn't happen in this version. There was a demo of it, and it doesn't happen. So what they said was, like, some of the stuff, you know, does happen, that did happen in the original game, does happen in this new game, but not how you expect it. Mm-hmm. Which I think is the perfect way of doing a remake, because you don't really want to remake the original game, especially with the pre-rendered backgrounds. That's what I hated about the remake of Resident Evil 1, is that it's pre-rendered backgrounds. I'd rather have it like this, where it's updated gameplay and then updated. Like, I love Leon's look, I love Claire's look. They look younger from the other games.
Then they are supposed to be younger.
Yeah, they are supposed to be younger because this is their debut. Basically,
I know a lot of people were actually basically giving Konami or Capcom shit because they're like, we don't like Claire's phrases. Like, you know, she was supposed to be super young and, like,
right. She's a college girl. At that
she's
point,
like college age in Resident Evil 2.
And yeah, now they don't look like weird mannequins with those dead eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like,
I hope they have great teeth like they did in Resident Evil 7.
That's right. There was pretty good teeth in that game.
One thing that and I will tell you this when I played Resident Evil 2, you know, if you go back and play it, it's actually not very terrifying.
Right.
This game, though, like, really ups the tension.
Yeah.
Because everything is dark as fuck in that police department. Like, Resident Evil 2, everything was, like, lit really well. When they showed the demo for this, I was like, holy crap, everything's dark, and you're carrying out a fucking flashlight. You gotta, like, fix the lights. It's like, it's insane. On top of that, the detail and the gore for this it looks like it's gonna be fucking over.
Oh yeah, there's a scene where you, like, come up to a guy and you're, like, trying to check out what he looks like, and you pull him up, and I guess, you know, this is the Resident Evil engine. Like, his, like, face is, like, ripped apart, and it's, like, slowly kind of, like, you know, it looks like elastic with all the blood and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And, like, right here where this guy, you know, this poor guy gets chopped in half because, like, you know, some zombie or BOW is, like, eating his, like, body, basically. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I mean, like, you know, they don't have the door opening loads going upstairs, like, duk, 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 duk.
I'm actually interested to see how they're going to do with Mr. X and William G.
Yeah, so
William
like
Birkin and I mean, you can tell ChuckingDice and I are very excited about this.
Yeah, so Mr. X was the BOW that's hunting in the original game, hunts the person who's playing the B game of the other character's A game. And, like, basically Mr. X is like nemesis. He just hunts you down through like the walls. If you go in one room, think you're safe, he'll break through the wall and he'll be there. Now in the original game, it was more staged. I'm hoping that this will be kind of like RE7, where he'll just appear out of nowhere and like follows you up the stairs of where you don't expect him to follow you. Hola, what's that? Julian Martinez. A lot of Spanish speakers here. Yeah, I don't know why.
Maybe because we're streaming later than usual.
Yeah, I guess so. So like it's kind of cool to see this version of Resident Evil, to see it more visceral, to see the fact that like if you get he changed his name, well then hola Senor Pac-Man. So like it's kind of cool to see it. I guess more realistic, I should say, rather than that old style, which is kind of hard to play. I'm looking forward to what Birkin looks like, because I always really dug his look with the eye on his shoulder and stuff like that.
And they already confirmed that they are bringing back Hunk and Tofu.
Yeah, Tofu.
I know Ada made an appearance in the trailer.
Yeah, she's like wearing a trench coat.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, it looks good. I'm actually excited to see that part where the mayor. You remember when you run into the
when you run into the mayor and he just like murders the daughter or whatever.
Yeah, and he's going all fucking crazy and paranoid. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I'm actually, and bring up one thing you mentioned too. This is coming out in January, in first quarter of 2019, and that's one thing that always kind of pissed me off about E3 was they would always announce things a year ahead. So the games that I saw for the PlayStation Showcase, so I know Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man's coming out in 3 months. I think Ghost is supposed to come out. I think actually beginning of next year. I know Last of Us, I believe, is supposed to come out the fall of this year. A lot of those games are not, it's not a year from now, 2 years from now. It's not, these are going to come out like next year's E3 and then they're going to show it again. No, these are coming out within the next few months.
Well, I mean, that's what a lot of people were complaining about Resident Evil 2 remakes. Like, when is it going to come out? When does it come out? Why have they made an announcement? They didn't make an announcement pretty much last year. I don't think it was really touched upon last year. I think the previous year they made that announcement. Yeah. But I guess they need time to make the game, and they need time to make it good.
Yeah.
So that's why I hope that they make this game good. As much as I enjoyed really Resident Evil 7, because I enjoyed the hell out of that game. And also one of the other things is that you can't really get hit a lot in this game. Like if the zombie starts biting on your neck, you got 2 more bites and then you're dead. That's gonna be tough because I'm not good with the shooting.
Oh well, hopefully they have an easy mode, not to insult your gameplay ability.
No, I love easy modes.
That's what you liked about Resident Evil 7 was they had an easier mode, and you were okay with that.
Yeah, I was fine with that, even though it was a little bit difficult still for me. I'll tell you what, I played Detroit Become Human on experience, so I'm good at those games. This game, being frightened and stuff like that, it's gonna be tougher.
That's why we did so well in Dead Space 3, because I just did all the aiming and shooting, and
I had to do all the engineer stuff.
Yeah, engineer stuff.
Like a good what's his name, Isaac.
Yeah, I was Carver, the shooter. And they need to bring that back. I want
Dead Space. No, I want a new Dead Space. Or
screw all these nerds who hated Dead Space 2, who hated Dead Space 3. I still run into people who still say that Dead Space 3 that game was garbage. And I was like, did you play it?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, no, but it looked like crap. And they had microtransactions. I was like, but did you play it? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, why are you talking shit?
I don't think I did one thing with microtransaction other than buy the DLC.
Yeah.
So you can play the game without buying anything.
Yeah. But that's the big one we're looking forward to.
Why'd he bite me? They have to have that guy.
Yeah.
Sorry there, buddy.
Oh, you know what's great? I hope they have the owner of the Kendo gun shop.
Right.
Because remember, do you remember how when you play the Leon disc and you meet him, he's like,
who are you? Yeah, what do you want?
What do you want? But then when you play as Claire, he's like super sexist.
Sorry there, sweetheart.
Yeah, he's like calling her darling and sweetheart, and I was like, man, super sexist, bro. That's how you get eaten.
Don't shoot me. I'm not a zombie.
That's great.
It's great. Yeah, now I'm just watching the gameplay of this game.
I hope they actually remake. If this does really, really well, which I believe it will, I hope they remake 3.
Nemesis?
Yeah. Because I actually really like Nemesis, but Nemesis can be really goddamn difficult.
Well, like I think with the intention of with Resident Evil Nemesis that it wasn't going to be the third game, it was just going to be a spin-off game. But then they decided to make it the third game, which is fine. I mean, it's fun. I kind of do dig 2 more just because you can have 2 different characters.
Yeah,
I enjoy the 2 different character aspects. That's why I like 7 because you can be, I think, 2 different characters in that too. 2 different or 3?
And 7?
Yeah.
I think you
end up being the guy, then you're the girlfriend for a while.
You're Ethan, and then you're Zoe for a bit, and then you with the DLC you can be Chris.
And,
and
DLC
and Zoe's uncle.
I like being Chris because you can punch things.
I still haven't gotten to that. I bought the game. I bought the gold edition, and I just never it's hard for me to play it because it's really violent, and I kept playing in front of
It's cathartic with Chris.
Is it?
Yeah, because he knows how to fight, and like he starts with great weapons, and then like if you injure the I'm gonna say BOW enough, you can like launch him with like this massive punch, this powerful Chris punch.
Nice.
The uncle is weird because all he does is punch.
He's like, I'm gonna punch.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna punch everything.
Pretty much, that's what he's doing. He's just like throwing dukes, and it's strange. But I'm looking forward to this. I actually might pre-order this. I'd never do that, but I kind of want to do it for this game just because I'm such a huge Resident Evil fan.
You're gonna pre-order so you can download it and it can become available as soon as possible.
I should reword that. I'm a fan of the Resident Evil games, not so much the movies. I like the animated ones though. They're not good, but it has Leon.
They're better than the shows.
Yeah,
it's all right, man. We can look forward to the Monster Hunter movies from the same team of Paul W.S. Anderson and Mila Jovovich.
Oh, they're going to do those?
Yeah, they're going to do the Monster Hunter movies.
So they're just going to be 3 hours of just wailing on a single monster and then gaining loot?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
We'll see how those goes. And he'll blame the studio interference for it. And I was like, no, dude, you're just
a bad director.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is that you actually picked up a Switch.
Yes, and it's funny, ChuckingDice actually gave me shit for this. After so much Nintendo bashing.
So in a previous podcast, it was called Laddering Bites. You and the rest of the crew of the Laddering Bites pretty much did not like Nintendo at the time.
Yes, and it's funny to mention that because I mentioned this me and one of the hosts from our previous podcast, Laddering Bites.
Yeah.
B-Pan Anomaly. I think that's a BP Anomaly. B-Pan, whatever. B-Fan, whatever.
His address is 123 Fake Street.
We actually had a Twitter conversation about it, and yes, we hated Nintendo, and we hated E3, and we'll just leave it at that. We hated Nintendo, but I picked up a Switch. I was on the fence on the Switch for a while, honestly, for quite a while. I wasn't sure if I wanted it. I did want to desperately play the new Zelda game because Zelda. I didn't pick up a Wii U because I thought it was like basically.
I thought it looks.
I thought it was dumb.
I thought it was dumb too. The only one the game I think I really wanted was that Castlevania remake of the Game Boy game, which is not available anywhere.
The Castlevania.
It was basically it's a remake of the original Game Boy game. I think it's called what's it? Dracula's Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And like the original Game Boy game is like the first one to me is unplayable.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it was their opportunity to go back and remake it into more of a legitimate Castlevania game.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've seen gameplay of it and it looks really cool. But it's not coming out. I guess it's not coming out on any of the system. I thought it would come out on the DS, but it hasn't. And yeah, it's only for the Wii U.
That's weird.
That is weird.
So I didn't really care for the Wii U. There were games I wanted to play on the Wii U, but there weren't as many games for me to justify the Wii U. Now, when they announced the Switch, I was like, that's a cool concept, but I basically looked at it and was like, well, this is what Sony wanted to do with the PS Vita.
Yeah.
Though they didn't do a very good job with it. I think they made a lot of they made a few errors that kind of turned people off. One of the big ones is with the proprietary memory cards because they're really fucking expensive. And it wasn't as easy as to pick up and go with your games on between the Vita and the PS3 and /4. Now the Switch, I will say, I was pleasantly surprised how much I'm enjoying it.
Right.
I have a long commute.
Yeah.
And it is really, really nice to be playing this on the long commute. Like I said, I was on the fence, but I think what finally made me pull the trigger was one, I found this at a really good price, brand new. And then two, the thing with Nintendo games is Nintendo games tend to not go down in price at all.
Right.
You can always find Nintendo games almost at full price, basically all the time. Like even used, they will charge you almost full price. I was able to find the games not as much as full price, but cheaper, probably like $20 cheaper. But I think what made me pull the trigger was, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, was playing Skyrim on the go. I've bought that game like 50 million times. It is. I think
I've not played that game once, but you've played it like many different times on different consoles.
I've played so many fucking times. Like I bought it on the Xbox 360 first. Right. I bought it on the PS3. They did the remaster, so I bought it on the PS4. Where else did I fucking buy it? And now I have it on the Switch. I think Metal Gear Solid 3 and Skyrim have been the two games that I am not ashamed to admit that I have bought those games multiple times, like at least 4 times each.
Right.
I think Metal Gear might be higher because I bought that on the Vita as well. But I bought those games multiple times. But it's great. It's actually really great. I mean, like I said, my commute's long, so it's nice playing these games. Zelda was great. Breath of the Wild was really fun. My only gripe with Breath of the Wild, it's a little difficult, and some of the controls aren't very intuitive. Mario Odyssey, though, is a goddamn delight.
You were telling me that you really enjoyed this game.
Yes. Now, here's the thing. 3D Mario games, I did not like Mario 64.
Right.
And I get so much shit from people. I actually, at that point in my...
You didn't like Mario 64?
At that point in my game...
You probably don't like Waluigi.
I don't like Waluigi, actually. Though.
Yeah, me neither.
At that
I don't know even who that thing is.
At that point in my gaming life, it was either the PS1 or the 64, and I actually opted for the PS1, which I still think back, and I was like, I made the best... That was a good decision I make, because... then I wouldn't have played Symphony of the Night or Metal Gear Solid, But I never got into Mario 64. I actually never got into the 64. It wasn't until I think a couple years later that I borrowed a friend's 64 just to play Ocarina of Time, and I liked it, and I thought it was great.
I just liked it the first time when it was called Link to the Past.
Yeah, but
Fight me.
The 64 was never. It was never a system I liked.
Right. I honestly agree with you. I didn't really think it looked really graphically. It didn't really look great.
It looked like it did not age well.
Yeah, it didn't age well. But I gravitated to the PlayStation because it had more games that I think looked better. Mm-hmm. And to to a certain extent, the PlayStation games kind of have aged a bit well. Than the N64. Not by much now, but some games definitely look a lot better.
I will say, most of the JRPGs, Symphony of the Night, anything that was 32-bit, like sprites, like anything 2D, that was like Symphony of the Night or just like that side scrolling.
Yeah, you can still play those games.
Yeah, and then I know Metal Gear Solid still holds up really, really, really fucking well.
Silent Hill 1.
Silent Hill 1. Yeah. It's a little muddy at times,
but that mist helps hide it. Yeah.
So I never got into Mario 64. Now, everyone kept telling me that Mario Odyssey was like, if you liked Mario 64, you'll love Odyssey. I still fucking hate Mario 64 to this day. I still refuse to play that game because that game is fucking shit, honestly. Mario Odyssey, though, is a fucking delight. Like, the platforming is spot on. It controls really, really fucking well. The music is phenomenal. Like, I had this huge fucking grin on my face every time I played this goddamn game because the music is great. The worlds are great. The level design is awesome. There's a lot of it is a collect-a-thon because it's a platformer. You are collecting power moons.
That's fine.
But the things you're doing to collect these and the puzzles and like the platform you're doing it's so much fun. The big feature in this is you can use Mario's hat you throw your hat to attack, but you also throw your hat at enemies or other objects, and you actually become that object. So like there's a T-Rex you can actually take over. You throw your hat and you become the T-Rex. There's a frog.
You are the T-Rex.
Yeah, and some of those things that you become actually have special abilities. So like you can become a frog, and the frog jumps really, really high. That's actually the first thing you become. You can become a Goomba Troopa.
That kind of reminds me back when Super Mario 3, when you can get the different suits. Yeah. Like the frog suit, the Tanuki suit.
Yeah, but it's a lot more. There's a lot of variety. Yeah. Sometimes it's kind of like lame. Like, I can only do this as this, and that's it. And they're like, yeah. There's one instance where you become a salt-crusted piece of meat, and all you can really do is it's like twitch around so you can attract the bird. Yeah. So it can bring you to the boss battle, which is really fucking like.
That's actually kind of cool.
It's cool. Yeah. It's really.
How'd you figure that out? Though?
It's really fun. Well, I mean, it kind of tells you. Oh, okay. I mean, it's funny because like they do it in really, really, really clever and charming ways. Like this game will charm the pants off of you. Like this is a really fun. Like I
think that's like Nintendo's like strong point is that that's what they do with their games.
It's very, very peak Nintendo, and it. I mean, I know I'm gushing about it, but I mean, I can't emphasize how much I was delighted by this.
Very game. Weird to hear from you saying this. Yeah,
especially about
I like a Nintendo game,
especially about 3D Mario, because I've always kind of been apprehensive about 3D Marios. There is one particular level, and I know you're very much a fan of old school,
like 2D platform. 2D. Yeah.
There's a lot of 2D old school Mario sections, but there's also a throwback to kind of Mario's original appearance, which was in Donkey Kong. Yeah. And also they talk about Pauline, his original love.
Yeah. Is she in the game?
She's in the game.
Cool.
She's the mayor of New Donk City, which is
so she got an actual job.
Yeah. It's actually it's basically Donkey Kong City, but I should fire it up for you, and you should play it. But it's really, really great. There's a throwback when you finish the goal in that level. The conclusion of your goal in that level is actually a nice throwback, and it's a really cool, like, catchy song. Right. I can't really recommend this game enough. I mean, honestly, this game should have won Game of the Year. Actually, honestly, to tell you the truth, to hell with Breath of the Wild. Right. It was. You
said that the creators of the Breath of the Wild, when they won Game of the Year,
they even said it themselves. They're like,
I'm glad that Mario came out the next year.
Yeah. Well, I think when Breath of the Wild was a launch title, and then Super Mario Odyssey came out, I think about 2 or 3 months. Yeah. Actually, no, more like 4 months, because I think you know what? Breath of the Wild came out launch, the launch was weird for this system. This launched in the spring. This launched in March or like May. No, March. It launched in March. Because everyone was like, you're launching it in March? Like, because everything usually launches in the fall. I think Mario Odyssey didn't release until either the summer or fall. And, yeah, that's when when they had their video game awards, the producers of Zelda said that. They're like, thank God. It's like, had Mario launched with the system, we would have never gotten Game of the Year. Because it's so good. I mean, he even admits. I mean, I can't recommend this game and stuff. I'm actually glad I got this game. Now, going back to the Switch itself, there are a few things I don't like. They do nickel and dime you on the peripherals.
That's kind of Nintendo too, though.
That's kind of Nintendo too.
Case in point, the Power Glove. It's so bad.
But I love it. The biggest kind of like the biggest kind of like thing kind of bother me with the Switch is the controls are okay. Mm-hmm. They're functional. They do have motion controls, but I'm not happy that they brought back. They have the Joy-Cons are nice. They actually do feel nice in your hands. Yeah. They provide this kind of little like frame where you can snap them together, and it creates a controller in your hands, but it doesn't feel very good. It's actually feels a little cumbersome. Now, they do sell a Pro controller. And this is what I told ChuckingDice this, and I was actually kind of outraged about this myself. The Pro controller is $60.
That's ridiculous.
Retail is $60.
Right.
I luckily bought. Somebody actually created a little USB dongle that you connect to your Switch, whether it's the dock or you can actually, with an OTG cable, you can connect it to the actual console itself, the tablet. You can use any other Bluetooth controller. So I'm actually using my PS4 controller, which makes Zelda Breath of the Wild so much more more enjoyable, because I played Breath of the Wild in handheld mode, which is the portable mode. Some of those things fucking suck sometimes. It took a little bit of getting used to. The other thing is the battery life is shit.
So you said 2 hours is about the...
You can depending on the game and how bright you have it, you can probably get a max of about 3 hours, maybe 4.
Right.
But you're looking more like 3 hours. So if you are going to pick up a Switch and you do plan on playing this like a lot, like in handheld mode,
gotta get a battery.
I would say get a charging cable and get a battery pack. They do have battery packs now that have USB-C on them.
Right.
But I actually already have a battery pack, so I just got a USB-C to...
That's what it uses, USB-C?
Yeah, it uses USB-C. I got a USB-C to USB-A charging cable, and it works fine. It charges fine.
I'm glad they didn't use some weird, like the PSP has its own kind of plug-in.
Yeah. The other thing is this. The Switch does come with internal memory, but it's not a lot. So you are going to need
an SD card
and a memory card.
Yeah.
They take basically the camera cards.
Oh, so the normal.
Yeah, just like normal
SD micro or whatever.
Yeah, the micro cards.
Yeah.
They take those. So it's not proprietary like fucking the Vita or the PSP.
Oh yeah.
So that's nice. That's not too bad. I actually got a 128 gig one for like $40, and that should actually be good enough for.
That should be. Yeah.
Their eShop is nice. It's very nice, nicely. Looks nice. Nintendo's always been good about aesthetics. They're kind of like the Apple, not in a good way, not in a bad way. They've been kind of like Apple, where they have really good aesthetic and UI.
Right. They don't have a cult following like.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they do, but like.
Yeah, their online is still a little wonky as far as using friend codes to friend people, which is kind of lame. But overall, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. One thing you will be like, kind of like, holy shit, this is actually really convenient, cool, is going from your docking mode into pretty much the handheld mode.
Right.
So the Switch is a tablet. It's basically a powered tablet. What you get in the box is a dock that. When you hook it up to your TV, you pretty much place the tablet into your dock. It slides into it.
Yeah.
It'll immediately, go onto your TV screen. As soon as you take it off, you're in handheld mode.
Right.
So it's been very convenient for me to have it charging overnight, like anyone in their phone. You know how people have their phones?
Yeah.
Put your phone in a dock, charge it overnight. As soon as you leave, pick it up, you're on.
Just it's like nice. Commercials.
Yeah, it's just like commercials. It's actually, when you kind of look at it, you're like, it's kind of gimmicky. Yeah. It shouldn't work that well. It's going to be delayed. When you actually do it, it's actually really, really nice.
Yeah.
It's been really cool. ChuckingDice, you played a little bit of Curse of the Moon.
Right.
What did you think of the look and feel of it?
I mean,
well, you had seen it before.
Yeah,
too.
I've seen it before. When we were actually in line for the SNES Classic, someone actually had that. I actually seen it before that when I was going to a museum with some friends. A person we were talking about the Switch, and it's like, are you gonna get it? It's like, well, no, because it's not available right now, and I don't really want to pay for one. I'm kind of like leaning now towards getting one.
Mm-hmm. You will love Mario Odyssey. Right. I will tell you that.
Okay, I'll give that a try. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cool system. I mean, I love the portable Nintendo systems. At this point, I think I have played every single one of their portable systems with I guess the Switch, but because I was my favorite system Nintendo ever made was the Game Boy. I never got the Game Boy Advance, but I have a old DS that can play Game Boy Advance games, and obviously I do have the new Nintendo 2DS because my 3DS took a crap on me, so I got a new Nintendo 2DS because I don't really use the 3D mode. But I love the 2D or the 3DS, I guess, because I liked all the digital games they came out with, and I've played an entire library. I have a huge library, and now I want to get a Switch, but I'm disappointed I can't transfer that library into the
that is another thing. That is another big thing that I'm not happy with. Nintendo still has not gotten onto the transferring licenses in digital games.
Well, I guess PlayStation has that issue too.
They have that issue. I mean, when you had the Vita, there was games you can just download. They did transfer licenses.
Yeah. Well, from the PS3 to the PS4. Like, I can't download my PS3 games.
And that's kind of the bummer of it. They do have Blaster Master Zero on the Switch.
Yeah.
They have, they have Curse of the Moon.
Well, I wanted to bring this up because I was actually very surprised that this came out on the Switch. It's Detention.
Detention, yes.
Yeah. This is a independent game that was, on Steam. That's where I think I picked up my copy. And I was very surprised they decided to bring this game to the Switch because it's a very mature game.
No, I will say I think that's what Nintendo's turning around to. Right. Now, and this is one thing I was thinking about when I got the Switch, is a lot of what Nintendo's doing with the Switch is honestly what the Vita was doing. So the Vita was attracting a lot of indies to their platform because, one, they had a touchscreen, and two, it was a viable platform to put your indies on. Yeah. It didn't really involve a lot of resources. I mean, people can play it. So I think that's when I think the Vita, a lot of people badmouth the Vita, but I think people need to give the Vita credit where credit's due. Is they kind of, I think they really, Vita made it possible to have, really showed people you can have a portable platform that has really good console, kind of like PC and console quality gaming. Not, I wouldn't say graphic wise, but more like gameplay, things like that. So the Vita was useful to have indie games and digital novels, things like that, because they actually had some digital novels as well. I know Nintendo 3DS did that, and I know the 2DS, the regular DS did that, but I think the Vita kind of really brought that. And I wouldn't doubt if Nintendo looked at the Vita and they're like, let's do that, but actually followed through on the promise of console to portable. Because I think that's really where the Vita failed. Their console to portable, there was a disconnect. It wasn't 1-to-1. Yeah. And I think with the Switch, it's where it vastly succeeded. Right. They basically made your portable the console.
Well, like, because this game came out, I'm thinking that you could really release a lot of like all these like really great indie games.
They are
on the Switch.
You saw that they have Ikaruga on there. Yeah. This game's on there. The touchscreen is actually really responsive. It's not the 3DS touchscreen. Yeah. It's more in line with more modern touchscreens, like on
like a Kindle or
like a Kindle
iPad.
Or a mobile phone, like an iPhone or whatever. So they are really pushing this indie thing, and I think that's the thing Nintendo is really. I think that's where Nintendo is succeeding, is they're really seeing that we really need to make sure we're taking care of the indies, because in between our big first party releases like your Marios, your Zeldas, your Metroids, your Smash Brothers, they still need a constant feed of software. Yeah. And I think that's the problem they had with the Wii U, is they didn't have that.
Yeah, it's just feed. Nintendo stuff.
Nintendo basically. Stuff. It was, and that was it. Yeah. With Switch, they really turned it around, and I think that's what also these other companies, I think Microsoft also, because Microsoft, that was a problem with Microsoft too, is they were kind of bringing in indies, but I think what Microsoft did and what really put them in the best position is the 360 didn't do very well in Japan. So when they went out with the Xbox X, they didn't really push too hard for Japan again, because they're like, well, then no one cares. They really didn't try to buddy up with Japanese developers, so they lost out on a lot of licenses. I mean, PS4 ended up getting all of the Japanese licenses and brought them over. So you had like things like From Software, you had all the Konami stuff, Capcom, all that stuff. I mean, even the smaller like Japanese stuff. I mean, bigger companies are still going to develop for Xbox because that's an install base they don't want to get rid of. But think about the biggest ones like Dark Souls. Yeah. They were like, who the fuck did we go to? It's like, Xbox doesn't want Japanese games on here. Or like,
they're too busy integrating NFL into their console.
Yeah, so they're like, well, let's go to Sony, and they went Sony. But I think this is great. I'm actually looking into this. I think I'm going to pick this up.
Right. So is this going to be like the turning point for Nintendo? Do you think this will bring them back on top? Because they used to own the gaming industry back in the 90s.
Like we said before, we really kind of badmouth Nintendo in the past, and I think this was I think a lot of it, for me anyways, a lot of it was because I saw the decisions that they made with the Wii U, and really to a certain extent the Wii, because I liked my Wii, but I didn't really play it all that much because they didn't really put a lot of quality games on there after a while. It was a lot of shovelware. I think this is kind of I do believe this is a turning point for Nintendo. I think this is more of a refocus of them like pushing more quality content for their core audience who wants those, the ones clamoring for those licenses and for those gameplays.
Yeah,
but I think they also using their indie stuff to kind of keep that constant feed of content going.
Right.
So I think this is a huge turning point for them. I think this is I don't think Nintendo will ever be on top because Nintendo always does what they want to do.
Right.
But I think this will help them keep them viable in the long run.
Right.
Because they're also branching into mobile.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the weirds is saying like I mean, it's kind of like years coming because like Nintendo used to be very rigid with things. They would never they never had the intention to re-release Earthbound. I mean, everyone's like wishing they would release Mother 3 with an English translation. Mm-hmm. But that hasn't happened yet.
How many Mothers are there? There's just 3. Is it 3?
There's only 3 games.
Okay.
The third one came on Game Boy Advance and has never been translated other than by a group of individuals who actually did translate it for a ROM.
So the Earthbound we got, basically we got Earthbound
2, basically. That's the Mother 2.
That's Mother 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like all of a sudden they've re-released, or I guess like they've released Earthbound, actually Mother 1 and 2 now at this point on their virtual library. And then who knows, maybe we'll get Mother 3 someday because there's a group of people who already translated for them.
Wait, did release Mother 1?
Yeah, Mother 1's actually available on the 3DS, I guess, library.
GameShop.
Yeah, GameShop.
And one more thing I need to mention, as far as their virtual console shop, they have stated that they're not going to do a virtual console as they had done with the Wii, the Wii U, and the 3DS.
Right.
What they're going to do is they're going to do a traditional online subscription, but their subscription is going to be vastly vastly cheaper than the other guys. Theirs is going to be $20 a month as opposed to... Well, no way. I think.
Wait, no, that's more expensive.
No, I think it's gonna be $20 a year. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
$20 a year.
It's like $20 a month.
No, there's gonna be $20 a year as compared to like Xbox and PS4, which is $60. But they still haven't given any details besides the online play. They said they are gonna provide free digital games as long as you're a subscriber.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what those are. One thing that kind of soured people on that was that they said that those games are only going to be made available for the month, and then once that month's over, they're going to be taken away. So nobody knows if you buy that, if you go and you download that license, like the PlayStation Plus, if you go and you download the license, as long as you purchase it, it's yours, and you can download whatever you want. Apparently, Nintendo said it's not going to be one of those. It's going to be you play as much as you want for the month, and then as soon as the month is over, it's done for. But you still have the license. So if the game comes back another month, you can just download and play it again. But again, it's not going to be available to download outside of that month that's available.
Oh, that kind of sucks.
But we haven't, we still haven't heard a lot of their online plans.
Yeah.
So they can be changing. We also don't know if they're going to add any other apps on their Switch, like Netflix or whatever. But for now, they seem to really be concentrating on one, getting a lot more of their first-party titles on there, and also give you a good drip feed of indies. I'm hoping that they go back and they remaster, or not remaster, but re-release some of their Wii U titles. They've already done that. They did Mario Kart 8, which is actually really great, really, really fun. They released Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, which is actually another great platformer. It's really difficult.
Sounds like a drink.
It is. It's a nice drink. Drinks is really good.
Tropical Freeze.
I think there's been a couple other ones. Bayonetta actually.
Who's also in Smash now.
Oh yeah, and I'm actually really to kind of wrap this up, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I've, it's been a while. It's been maybe has it been a year since it's come out?
Yeah,
Switch?
yeah.
The year. I'm still kind of in the kind of the beginning stage of the Wii's life cycle. So, we'll see. I'm actually looking forward to see what they're gonna release. Hopefully they release a new Metroid.
Well, are they they're doing anything? What's it called? They're doing
Prime 4.
Yeah.
So they are going to release Prime 4, but people are hoping they didn't say anything at E3.
Right. They are releasing a new
Pokemon game.
Well,
they're doing. That's another one of their big IPs. They're actually
Fire Emblem. Oh, that's
Fire Emblem and Emblem. Fire Emblem. Yeah. They're releasing that. That's what they announced at E3. They announced Smash. They announced. I think there's one more thing they announced. Yeah, there's a few things they announced. But yeah, people are kind of disappointed. The thing with Nintendo and E3 though is Nintendo really doesn't like announcing a lot of stuff at E3.
Right.
They actually like announcing their stuff on their own Nintendo Direct. So we'll see in the coming months what they announce. But yeah, I mean, I think at this point, if you're on the fence for the Switch, you're still okay waiting it out.
Yeah.
Until more games come out. But let's say. What do you say? What's the quota usually for you? Like, how many games until you actually consider buying a system?
It really depends. It depends on the type of game that's coming out. So I didn't really have an intention to buy a PS4 because I bought the PS4 early in its life. Mm-hmm. Usually, what I do is wait like 2 years. Mm-hmm. But there was a special going on, and there was actually one game that I really wanted to play, and that was Until Dawn. And because like that game I was looking at, and it's like, this is the game I want because it's like a horror movie, but like I can choose the outcome and stuff like that. It's very similar to like a Heavy Rain
and also the entire game they're asking, how long do we have to survive? It's like until dawn.
Until dawn.
And throughout the entire game they're saying
like,
until dawn. It's like, why are you guys asking? You know it's until dawn. Like it's the name of the fucking game.
When they say it, they look at the camera too.
Really?
No, nice. I don't know. We've got to wait. Look at the camera. Until dawn.
They should say that.
And then one of the other characters, what are you looking at?
Yeah,
nothing.
We need to make a movie of Until Dawn, but make it like really schlocky and just like self-aware and self-parody.
Me and my like film school friends, we always talk about like movies, and like our favorite kind of movies are when they say the title of the movie, like in a setting like if it's like The Hills Have Eyes, you're like, man, I really think that these hills. They have eyes. And they're like, it's like one of those things.
Oh, God. It's hilarious. Or like the Hot Tub Time Machine. It's like,
hot tub. It's some like sort of hot tub time machine.
And he looks at the camera. Yeah.
That's my favorite part in that film. I like that film.
Yeah, I actually like that one. Yeah. I never saw the second one, though.
Me neither. I haven't seen this. The first one is good enough for me.
So, sorry. So you were saying, so usually, so it kind of depends on
it has to be the game that kind of speaks to me. But, like, if it's, like, for example, when I got the PS3, there were a couple of games I wanted. One of them was L.A. Noire, and then the other one was Heavy Rain.
You can play L.A. Noire on the Switch.
Well, the thing is that L.A. Noire I did not like. But I loved Heavy Rain. I thought that was a great game.
When it comes to L.A. Noire, I really wanted to like it too, and I was like, God, this is so fucking boring.
I know. It was great for 15 minutes.
Yes.
And then beyond that, you were doing the same thing over and over and over
I feel like L.A. Noire is one of those games where like it should just be $5.
Yeah.
Anything more than $5,
and it shouldn't be as long as it should have been.
No, the game is fucking long.
Yeah.
Like that game, they could have seriously cut an hour and a half of content for that game.
And the driving sucked.
Yeah, the driving was fucking horrible. Actually, the shooting was even worse.
Yeah, the shooting sucked too. Yeah.
The
questioning was hilarious.
Yeah. Oh.
He would just like go off the handle.
Yeah, for like no fucking
no
reason. Too. Yeah. So I don't know. You think so you're kind of leaning towards buying one?
I mean, yeah, like I'm a fan of.
It doesn't hurt to wait.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the portables from Nintendo. I just want to know what else they're going to release, what are they going to do with their library, if like Earthbound's going to be available or not. If they're going to do a new version of Earthbound, that would be great for me. If they release Mother only on the Switch's library,
you're buying.
I'm buying it.
You're buying the day Mother comes out, or you're buying it.
Mother 3.
Mother
3.
Are you buying it the day it comes out? Or are you buying it the day they announce it?
They announce it, and then it does actually come out. Because I don't want Nintendo to just say,
"Oh, we're gonna cancel it."
Yeah, we're canceling because no one's interested in all the people from the Earthbound.net are in tears.
Yeah,
including myself.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm
Starman.net.
I'm curious to see what Nintendo's gonna do with this thing. I mean, this just released for them.
Yeah.
It's only been a year, so I honestly think Nintendo. I mean, they're just gonna keep doing what they're doing.
Right. Well, they've gotten a lot of like goodwill because they released more of the SNES classics. They're gonna re-release the NES classics. I don't know if that's happening or not. I heard that was happening.
Yeah, that was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I think they did announce when they were gonna come out. I think it's July.
Oh, really?
I think. I could be wrong though.
But like basically they're finding out that we're kind of popular again.
I mean, it's a cycle with these companies. I mean, everyone's bad mouthing Sony because everyone's bad mouthing Sony because they fucked up the Fortnite thing.
Right. Like the servers.
Yeah. So the Fortnite.
They can't play them.
If you created a Fortnite account and you played it on your PS4, basically it locks you out of playing that account on the Switch. Switch released. They released Fortnite on a Switch, and people went apeshit over it. The problem is, if you played with your Fortnite account on the PS4 and you bought things, you can't use that account or even the items you bought on the Switch. You can use it everywhere else, just not.
Back to square one, guys.
Yeah, so basically they both lock each other out.
Yeah.
People went apeshit. Sony basically said, like...
It was like a not apology thing.
Basically, they basically said, like, sorry, we're not sorry, though. Like, that's how we set it up.
Right.
And people
it's almost like they're adapting a Nintendo stance, like from back in the day.
Yeah, and people all up in arms. And I was like, guys, they're like, well, this is why we're going to go to Microsoft and blah, blah. I was like, guys, you fucking do this every fucking time there's a system released. People hate one system. They love the other. They're like, oh, my God, they're for the gamers. And then next year, the next launch, that person goes back to making shitty decisions, and you love the other system. Happened with the PS3. It happened, it's happening this year. It's happening this cycle.
It looks like it's happening perpetually with the Xbox.
Yeah, it happened this cycle with the Xbox One. In the PS2 era, it was the PS2. I mean, people loved the PS2. Granted, that's when the Xbox first came out, but people never really jumped on the Xbox because the Xbox basically came out towards kind of like the end of the PS2 life cycle.
Right.
But I mean, it was flipping and flopping. So it's gonna happen again. I mean, it's a cycle with these companies. It's gonna. I think one of the best comment I ever seen on a gaming website about this stuff was on Polygon. Basically, this guy said, honestly, guys, like, I've been gaming my entire life. Who gives a fuck? Like, why are you guys making such a big fucking deal about Fortnite? Like,
it's
like he's like, dude, this shit happens every fucking time. Like, there's no point in getting your arms up. It's like, you bad mouthing Sony. Like, what is that gonna do? Fine, don't fucking go sell your PS4 and go get an Xbox.
I've always like been told that like this time and age is the
the outrage.
Yeah, the outrage kind of age that basically people are offended with, like, all whatever announcements are being made or policies or whatnot. Sometimes for good reason. Other times you're just like sitting there, why are you mad about that?
You're being outraged just for the sake of it.
You're just like, Waluigi's not in this game. Okay?
It really is. I really think it's I wouldn't doubt if it's really because of social media.
Yeah, no, I think social media, like, sometimes they just give a huge voice to a very just minority of people.
Yeah.
And it's been growing and growing and growing since then. I mean, I remember back in the day, and when I was on the internet around like 1994, 95, and like people being outraged then, but like no one cared, because who cares about this person who's on the internet screaming about like what DC Comics is doing or what Marvel Comics is doing.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, as the internet kind of became adapted to, like, everyone, and everyone was leaving comments, everyone's like mad about a person making a comment about this, mad about a person making a comment about that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes their comments are very intelligent. Other times they're well thought of, but then they're outraged because they said one sentence in a certain way. People got outraged of Detroit Become Human because they thought it was like, against some certain social norm or something like that. I read into it just so I can understand where they're coming from, but then in the end of it, it's just that they don't like a game. Okay, I get that, but why are you so angry about it? Like when I saw the Spider-Man stuff, I'm like, oh man, I'm not really crazy about those costumes. I'm not gonna go kill the person who like created that game. That's ridiculous. Why did you change Spider-Man's costume?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not gonna rage about that.
Yeah. And it's funny though because it's like, and it was in the commenter even pointed out in that article. He's like, guys, like other mediums do this.
Yeah.
If you buy, they're like, your phones do this. If you go buy all this shit from the iTunes store.
Yeah. Guess where it's not going to be available.
And you can switch to Android. Guess where it's not going to be available?
Yeah.
On the fucking Android store.
Right.
Like, you can't buy your licenses back on the Android store.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you don't get it, though. It's an Epic account. They're like, so fucking tell Epic to fix it. You know Epic can fucking do it. Like, tell Epic to carry over the stuff you bought from them.
Right.
Like, he's just like, there's no fucking point. Like, why seriously, stop. Like... But I mean, again, whatever. It's this day and age. It's the day.
Everyone's outraged about something.
It's the age of social media and having, being able to vent your frustration immediately.
Right.
But, well, we enjoyed talking to you guys and complaining and gushing over Mario Odyssey, especially Mario Odyssey.
Thanks for all the people who joined in on the chat.
Thanks for everyone.
Basically just said hi, except for Senor Pac-Man, who changed his name to Julian Martinez. What's Ola Volvi mean? Everyone?
Ola Volvi? Follow us on Twitter at IncognitBro and at ChuckingDice. Please share, like, and subscribe, and always leave a comment. Right. Is there something coming up soon next? I don't know.
Like what? Like a video game one? I'm going to Anime Expo in 2 weeks.
I'm actually looking forward to hearing your adventures at Anime Expo.
Just to let you know, I'm going to be at Anime Expo. I'm going to be cosplaying as...
What dates are those?
That's 5th through 8th.
Oh, the July 4th
weekend? Basically July 4th weekend.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll go down there and I'll meet you guys. Not for the expo, because it's you have to pay now, right, for expo? For
you've had to pay, kind of like.
Oh, okay.
So I paid for all 4 days. Actually, me and Tiny Dinosaurs and Thought Otter, we got a hotel room down there too, so that we don't have to come all the way back to, the valley and go back to.
Fucks.
Yeah.
You can just take the trains.
But you got to wear a costume the entire time.
Yeah.
And then we have to do costume changes and stuff. Basically, change into normal clothes so that we can go.
I'm gonna raid your hotel room and like eat everything in your mini fridge.
Right. So I'm going to be cosplaying as Mugen from Samurai Champloo. My other cosplays is Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 4.
Awesome.
And Trevor Belmont from Castlevania, the Netflix series. I'm also going to be cosplaying as Ash, but it's from Ash vs. Evil Dead, but I'm going to wear an Ash Ketchum hat. But basically it's just going to be Ash.
Seems legit.
Yeah.
Are you going to have cut off Pikachu heads?
I was going to do that, but... Man, those things are freaking expensive. It's like they're pillows or whatever, and I thought I'd just put a keychain at the end of it and stuff like that. But they're like $40, so maybe I won't buy that. I'll just have the hat, and then people just have to put 2 and 2 together. What do you wear? Where do you wear? Ash? Ash from what? Oh, the spinoff, Ash vs. Evil Dead. Oh, that's not from Pokemon. No, it has Ash in it. But yeah, I think the first day I'm going to do Trevor Belmont because there's a get-together with a bunch of Castlevania fans, I guess. I'm just going to go there and be drunk because that's what Trevor Belmont does.
Wait, and July 5th, is that a Friday?
No, that's I think July 4th is a Wednesday, so that's a Thursday. Because it starts on the 5th and ends on the 8th. There's I find it it's really ironic that I'm going to be celebrating July 4th weekend basically on Japanese stuff.
That's good.
Yeah.
Nobody likes America.
I'd rather do that than go watch fireworks.
Nobody wants to watch fireworks. Fireworks are cool when you're 10 and under.
Oh, yeah. No, it was great in Kansas because from my house, we could see this display that they would do at a college, a religious college near us. And I think that pretty much spoiled me with fireworks because I've always seen so many different displays of fireworks from the comfort of my own home. Then when I see it now, I'm not as dazzled.
You're just like, eh.
Yeah. I was like, eh. And they did that in the Royals games. I used to go to Royals games on Friday, and they would just do dazzling fireworks to the tune of Star Wars and Indiana Jones. And I'm like, yeah, do 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 do, screaming out that. And and after after a while, you've seen one fireworks show, you've seen them all now at this point, unless they do something really amazing.
Is it weird to like the smell of fireworks? I like that smoke.
Huh? Yeah, that's weird. You're a serial killer.
I like that smell of smoke, the fumes of spent fireworks, that burnt
That burnt kind of chemical smell.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know why. Like matches, like
that's like liking the smell of wet tar, like the amusement park kind of smell.
Like when you burn a match and it smells after. Like, I like that smell.
That's not bad.
Like I like sawdust smells too.
Yeah.
Like
sawdust.
I love smells that are very like kind of clean and kind of things that kind of cleanse your palate. So like I like lemongrass. Like I like the smell.
Well,
of
that's
I like the Wizard of Oz.
Right.
Please don't talk. What do you say? Please don't talk to me. Oh,
my favorite's the Tin Woodsman.
God freaking Christian.
I like how it's like a pilot.
Yeah, like, wear like a pilot with
biplane and goggles.
Yeah. It's,
oh God, that movie.
Yeah.
24 hours. All right. So thanks for joining us. Keep it rolling. Vic, you rule.
I know we didn't hear from Vic.
It doesn't matter because he rules.
Okay.
All right. See
Vic
you guys.
always rules. Bye.